Hey there, this is Dr. Mort Orman, and it's a beautiful morning here in Maryland. You may hear some traffic sounds in the background, you may hear some birds chirping in the background, but I wanted to continue our discussion today about science. And the point I want to focus on today is it's important to understand that science, particularly in the way it's presented to us as lay people and consumers, can be highly manipulated. There are actually many ways in which science can be manipulated to get a particular outcome, a particular result. If a person has an agenda and they want to have science back up their agenda, there are ways that you can do that. You can structure studies in such a way that you get the result that you want. There even have been very well-known instances where researchers have completely fabricated data and presented it as scientific research to bolster a point of view that they wanted to promote. But there's an even more insidious way and a more important way in which science can be manipulated, and that's how you pick and choose from the whole universe of scientific information on a particular topic or a particular issue, how you go into that data bank and you can pick and choose those studies or those research reports or those articles that support your particular point of view or one particular point of view, and completely ignore a whole bunch of other very valid, very well done studies or surveys or whatever that completely argue against that point of view or cast doubt upon that point of view. Much in the same way, and you can really learn a lot about how this works by watching the behavior of the media around news stories. I mean, every day, there are hundreds and thousands of news stories that could be reported on television, on radio, in print media, and the people who are in charge selectively pick and choose those reports they want to cover, number one, and those they don't want to cover, and they also pick and choose the ones they want to highlight and put in areas of the broadcast or print media that will capture the most attention, and they can bury stories in the back and not publish them at all. So you can do the same thing with science. And I've seen this many, many times in presentations. I've seen this where people will list a whole bunch of scientific references for their particular theory or point of view. And you can be very selective in choosing the references that you want to use. And you can really be dishonest. You can be intellectually dishonest, either consciously or unconsciously, by not telling the whole story, by not including all the other contrary points of view or evidence that might lead to a contrary outcome. So it's important when we as consumers are being fed information about our health or about our environment or whatever it is, that we're being given information that's usually being filtered, and we're usually not getting the whole story. We're not seeing the whole universe of ideas and studies and data to get a whole comprehensive overview of a particular subject and weigh the various points of view and the quality of the various pieces of evidence that are in existence. Not to mention the fact there's lots of other evidence that's not available. It hasn't been created yet, hasn't been discovered yet, that has a bearing on the eventual outcomes that can come from any of these particular issues. So I just wanted to highlight that point today, that again, this is why, as I mentioned in the last video, we need to have a healthy degree of skepticism whenever someone's coming at us with scientific data to support a particular point of view, a particular agenda-driven point of view that they might have, because you gotta ask, are they really telling us the whole story? Are we really getting the whole story? And even when we do our own research and we go on the web and try to figure out what the real story is, are we getting all of the relevant information or only that which is being presented in the various media outlets that we're going to or other outlets that we're going to? So this is a very important factor. It has more to do with the stress that we experience and the chronic anxiety and uncertainty that we experience, or sometimes the certainty that we get, that's false certainty, that leads us into trouble and that generates lots and lots of stress for us. So that's why I wanted to talk about this subject today. Like I said, it's not a sexy topic, but it really does have something to do in many ways with why we experience stress every day. And also, we'll talk about later on this week, when we go to look for solutions for our stress, these same issues around science come up in a very strong way. So I'll talk to you tomorrow.